This happened back in 2019. I was working a job at Marshall's Home Goods. I was also binging triple C's in order to escape the cruel reality which I felt that I lived in, along with LSD, alcohol, weed, and Ritalin. Now, for those of you who don't know, triple C's, like DXM, are a cough medicine containing dextromethorphan, but unlike DXM, they also contain an antihistamine called chlorpheniramine. Eventually, the doses got so high that I could not trip at work anymore. I began doing no shows or calling out just so I could trip on triple C's more often. As I continued to binge and get higher and higher each trip, I could feel the triple C's taking hold of my mind and changing it. I felt myself going insane, and I wanted to go deeper and deeper and continue to explore, even if it meant permanently retarding my brain or becoming a vegetable. Looking back, I believe that the insanity was brought on by Plateau Sigma from a previous trip in which I combined LSD and DXM, aka LSDXM. Anyway, my insanity resulted in me nearly dying. So, I had dosed 1400 milligrams the previous night, in which I blacked out. The next night, I decided to dose a little lower so I wouldn't black out the entire trip. So I decided to take 1,020 milligrams, which was 33 pills, which was more than 2 boxes of triple C's. I know, right? I'm an idiot. I then step out to my porch and smoke some weed, which always kickstarts my trip. I feel the familiar DXM warmth, and I start seeing tracers appear in front of me, and I start seeing people out of the corner of my eyes. The seeing people was due to the chlorpheniramine in the triple C's, so I was used to that and wasn't alarmed. I walk around my driveway enjoying the anticholinergic effect and thinking I'm seeing cop cars out of the corner of my vision, jumping each time, but each time I look in the direction where they are, they're gone. At that point, I decided that 1,020 milligrams isn't going to cut it. So I go inside upstairs to my room and take 2 more sheets of 8 triple C's, resulting in 1,500 milligrams. I'd finally joined the 1,500 milligram club. I go outside and smoke some more weed, closing my eyes every now and then to enjoy the interesting closed-eye visuals of triple C's. I am always intrigued by them, but at some point, the trip turned nasty. I think it was because the additional 8 pills had hit my system, and suddenly the closed-eye visuals turned into my organs bleeding. I believe my consciousness had shrunk down inside me, and I could see my intestines and all my organs bleeding and the triple C's eating away at them. I know I mentioned previously that I didn't care if I died or turned into a vegetable, but all of a sudden I realized that I did not want to die at all, and how dangerous this drug really was. I felt helpless. I did not know what to do. I was overcome with emotion, like, what the fuck had I done to myself? I paced back and forth in my room in a panic, clutching my chest and stomach in pain. I can feel the drug tearing away at my insides, I believed. I felt like my soul was clinging to my body by only a pinky, and that I had to act fast. My phone was not on me, unfortunately, as for some reason, whenever I took DXM, I never seemed to have my phone. I start to cry as I thought about everything that life had ahead for me and how I was going to throw it all away for some stupid binge. I thought of waking my mom up, but I decided against it as I had done this to myself, and it was no way her fault, so I decided to not get her involved in this. This drug was evil, and it was doing everything in its power to kill me. There were moments where my breathing would get shallow, and I could feel my soul starting to leave my body, but I would always force myself back into my body, as I felt that if I continued to leave my body, I would for sure die. And there were times where I would completely lose consciousness only to regain it and be in even more pain than before. All my body could tell myself was pain, pain, and that I was dying. It was then that I decided to step out onto the porch for one last look at the world before I left it to say goodbye. But there, on the porch floor, was my phone. I struggled to pick it up and dial 911. I don't care if I get any charges for this. So, I dial 911, tell them exactly what I did, and sure enough, they send the ambulance and paramedics on the way. I stand outside, sobbing and clutching my body in pain as I wait for the ambulance to arrive. They arrive and ask me if it was a suicide attempt. I tell them no, I was just trying to get high. They load me into the back of the ambulance, and at that point I'm still fading in and out of consciousness, so I wasn't quite aware of what the paramedics were doing, but they were doing everything they could to keep me alive. I think they were trying to talk to me and ask me about my habits, but I was too high to explain everything in detail. Once we get to the hospital, they waste no time in getting me on a stretcher and wheeling me into a room. There, they check my vitals, and I tell them everything that I did, and they shot me up with a medicine to reverse the effects of the drug. And it was there that they tell me that I was lucky that I got there when I did, because had I got there any later, I would certainly have died. And they told me that that was very smart for calling the ambulance. They also took an X-ray or CAT scan, I can't remember which, of my stomach, and there they told me that the triple C's had put 5 holes in my stomach, and that I would need to be on soft foods for a while to let my stomach heal. The nurse was beautiful. She told me that it was the CPM ingredient in the triple C's that was responsible for putting the 5 holes in my stomach. She also gave me a folder on addiction and the danger of triple C's and told me that I should stay away from them in the future, to which I responded at the time that I was going to do them again, but really, in my head, I had doubts about it. So, I had to stay in the hospital, hooked up to different machines for 6 more hours, even after the DXM overdose had been reversed, just to make sure that I wouldn't slip into near death again. I was finally released, and the nurse I mentioned previously called me a taxi to take me home. During the ride home, I thought about my experience and what the nurse had said, and about my addiction. It was then and there I decided that I would never touch triple C's again because I did not want to go through what I went through again. So, this concludes my story on my triple C overdose. So, don't do triple C's, guys. And for those of you who will do DXM regardless, make sure it's just pure DXM. I do not wish to see anyone go through what I went through.